Welcome back to Well Traveled with AAA. I'm Julio Soto, Travel Product Manager at AAA, and today we're exploring one of the world's most iconic destinations, Italy. At AAA, travel isn't just something we book, it's what we know. Through strong partnerships and a network of expert AAA travel agents who personally experience the destinations they recommend, we turn travel dreams into seamless, unforgettable journeys. Today, we're sharing that insider insight with you. Joining us is Ashley Carter, one of our expert AAA travel agents who has just returned from a family vacation in Italy. Ashley, we are so excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Julio. I'm very excited to be here and explaining my trip to Italy.
Absolutely. And by the way, remind me, we saw each other where last?
We were just recently in Dominican Republic together on a fam, the club.
That's right. That's right. So that is validation from my intro that says you good folks really are living the destination. So it was Great to see you in the Dominican Republic. And I am super excited about diving in and talking about your recent experience to Italy. So first, I just want to ask, because there are so many places, right, that we can travel to. What gravitated you to that specific destination?
I think Italy is always a bucket list item for everybody, specifically for myself, my family. So we kind of all got together and decided that that was a place that we wanted to go explore and had the best time. So
that's great. And I'm with you on that. I have the great honor of visiting Italy, quite a few times. Yeah. So I listen, I share the passion. It's one of my favorite places. So let's dive in, because there's so much to talk about here. So when you were looking at Italy as a destination for your family, I mean, there's so many different ways of doing it, right? Like you could do it, you could rent a car and do it. There's excellent rail service. You could cruise in and around Italy. You get the picture, right? So what was it about the guided vacation aspect of what you did that really resonated with you in planning this for your family?
I think for the guided aspect, just having everything kind of pre-populated and taken care of before you have to go, your hotels, your transportation. There's so many logistics that go into travel in Europe, especially with children. And having that taken care of for me as a mom of three, it just makes it such more of a seamless experience for us. And we got to work out the logistics, kind of fine tuning the little things that work specifically for our family and especially for others with children as well. But just having that part taken care of just made this such a more easy, excitable experience. You're not stressed out. This hotel canceled, that's all up to the travel director. So I think having that was just an amazing thing for us.
I love that. And, for some of our listeners who may not be as familiar with the guided vacation concept, as opposed to doing it independently, let's play that back, because it's really important for people to understand. So when you do the guided vacation, every single aspect of it, for the most part, as far as the logistics are concerned, it's taken care of, right? Like the hotel, how you get around, all of it, right?
The tours, that's one great thing about Trafalgar and any guided tour really, is you have that taken care of. It takes everything off of the parents' back for a larger family. So
that's great. Let's dive into the actual itinerary, because as we get location to location, destination to destination, we'll unpack some really great things. But let's talk about your first stop and what were the great highlights of that.
Oh my gosh. Our first stop was in Rome. So we got to the hotel, did the welcome dinner, kind of met our travel companions there. And then we headed off. We went to the Colosseum, which was an amazing destination. Trevi Fountain was amazing. We got to go around. They give us a little time. So you go do the tours, and a lot of them are kind of expedited, fast passes, skip the line with these guided tours. Our travel directors are phenomenal, and they have all the ins and outs to get in and get past the line. So we get to sneak up, and everybody's kind of looking at us like, why do you get to go to the front? They get that all set up for you and go kind of tour everything. And then going to the Colosseum, we've got tour guides that are able to kind of bring you around and kind of show you the immersive history of the actual location. So we got to find out a little bit more about the Colosseum than you would if you were going on your own and just kind of walking around and touring. So that's something that was all included as well, which is wonderful.
That's great, because I've been to the Colosseum and I did not have your VIP status. And I am not kidding. It took me 2.5 hours
Yeah.
to get into the front door of the Coliseum. So the idea that you bypassed all of that because of the package you were on is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It is wonderful.
Want to experience destinations in a deeper, more meaningful way? Vacationing with Trafalgar offers immersive guided journeys filled with authentic local moments, from exclusive cultural experiences to unforgettable meals and hidden gems you might not ever find on your own. Start planning today at AAA.com/Trafalgar and discover how guided travel can turn a great trip into an extraordinary one. You were telling me about the experience that your family had at the Coliseum specifically. Can you talk about that? Because it was so funny and cool to hear it. I'd love for our listeners to hear it too.
Definitely. So we had an optional excursion experience that we did sign up for. That was a dinner that was literally just steps away from the Coliseum, underground in a bathhouse. And again, very immersive. All the staff try to really bring everybody into it. But they had this one where they brought my 10-year-old son, Ben, and did a little show and brought him up and pretended to put actual shaving cream on his face and brought out the sword, and they shaved his beard with the sword. So that was a really, really fun experience. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was taking video. We had so much fun with it. The best part at the end, he stands up and says, "It took me 10 years to grow this beard."
That's great.
Everyone was howling.
That's excellent. Hey, talk to me real quick, because Italy is known for many things, obviously, food being one of them. And so did you feel that the quality of the food and the meals that you received, were they immersive, like you said? Were all of them that way? Did you feel that you were getting really authentic Italian food? Because that would be a shame not to have that experience. Right. So what were your thoughts on that?
Based on the locations that they gave us the best food you can imagine. I mean, it far exceeded my expectations. Absolutely. The food in Italy, it is top tier. I've never had anything like that before in my life. That's
great. That's great. Because, there sometimes people may think, well, I'm not going to get high quality cuisine because I'm not doing this independently. But that's not the case, obviously. You had some wonderful meals and your kids enjoyed them too, right?
Oh, absolutely. We were stuffed every single night. And that's one thing I will say that a lot of people talk about with the food is you will go to places if you're kind of going on your own and you do find food that's not going to be quite as authentic. I feel like they really scouted out and fine-tuned which areas and which locations had that authentic experience.
What was your next stop in this wonderful trip to Italy?
So we did Rome, and then we were off to Florence. Yes. And that's one thing, especially for my kids. I asked my daughter Emma yesterday, and what was your best experience? It was Florence. The travel director created a scavenger hunt for the kids to kind of go around. And so they'd have to tick off all this. And there was a prize at the end if you got them all taken off. So we had to run around and find all the certain things. I remember the black ink was one of them, going around finding a wine window, certain statues. So it was just something that she really did to go above and beyond to make sure that the kids also had that good experience. Because of course, the adults, we know everything about the area. We've kind of researched it, but for them to have that immersive, and it's also a learning experience for them, which was really wonderful.
That's incredible, because you want to talk about sort of like the mecca of art and culture in Italy. Florence is stunning, every aspect about it. So it's great to hear that not only did the adults enjoy it, but your kids found it fascinating too. I think that's really, really cool. Cool. All right. So then from Florence, where'd you go next?
We were off to Venice. So we had an optional. Oh my goodness.
I know. Yeah.
We had an optional experience that was the Grand Canals. So we literally got to sit on the gondola and be hoisted around and sit as a family five and go around. And he was explaining everything, all the detail, all the different stories throughout the years, how there's an underground or underwater city. We continued on. We got to tour a lot of the inside parts of Venice. I will shout out the best pizza we have ever had in our entire life. It was so basic. It looked basic, and we tried it and it was mouth-watering. This one little kind of hole-in-the-wall restaurant, but you go in and you get seated, and it was just the best experience. So much fun. The staff around you is just so happy to have you there. And
it's so wonderful. Yeah. I shared a very similar experience the last time I was in Venice. I was on a cruise, so it's a little different, but we sailed out of Venice, and they were playing Bocelli in the background as we sailed out of this magnificent city. And to this day, I still think about that and how really incredible it is. And quite frankly, everything that you've talked about so far, they are experiences of a lifetime. And to be able to share those with your kids is just an amazing, amazing thing. How was the aspect of Venice for you, especially seeing it from the water? Like when you take a gondola ride, it is spectacular, but like what did you feel doing it for the first time, and how did your kids react to something like that too?
In awe. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. It's so breathtaking and overwhelming to see and understand as they're describing everything that you wouldn't get usually if you're even researching just the particular buildings and just hearing the history. And you can kind of really put yourself back in that time and be like, wow, that really happened here. And just the history of all the buildings, I think it's just, we were all in awe and taking it in. My kids were not bored on that excursion. They were just stunned looking around them.
That's great. And let me ask you a question, because like I feel that the itinerary that you picked is super comprehensive, especially for a first timer to Italy, right? I mean, you're doing Rome, Tuscany, where Florence is, and then of course you go up to Venice. If somebody were to want to expand on that, like what would your recommendations be, and how would somebody go around planning something like that to kind of expand on the geography that you covered?
I mean, if you're going at the guided tour aspect, you can certainly go off on your own. If you're looking at expanding on that, I think just kind of if you're doing a guided tour, looking at where you're going and nailing down what you really want to go to and what you want to see if it's not a part of that tour.
So there are guided tours up to the northern part of Italy too, correct?
That is correct.
Feeling inspired by today's travel stories? Turn that inspiration into your next adventure with AAA. Get expert planning, personalized guidance, and more value from every trip. Visit AAA.com/travel and start planning today. I want to go back to a couple of things that you've mentioned that could be very much of interest to our listeners. So the idea that you handpicked the excursions, right?
Yes.
Just general, because a lot of folks may not understand that you can pick some excursions that enhance the experience. Walk me through that process.
Right. So a lot of times Trafalgar will offer a couple different experiences, optional excursions. Typically, you can do 2 in a day sometime. A lot of the times they will itemize to 1 excursion based on how many people are going on that excursion. So when we had looked at the different excursions, it was the majority, but luckily did fall on the ones that we wanted to go on.
For our listeners too, this is what our travel agents do. They can walk through the list of excursions with everyone, and between everyone involved, you guys can help land on some wonderful excursions. I think that's really great advice, and I appreciate that. I've taken many excursions specifically in Europe, and they always enhance the experience. And I've learned, and maybe you can also talk about it, is like these excursions are like they really submerge you into the culture, right? I mean, they're doing some things, and you're visiting locals, and you're really getting into that culture like you couldn't probably do on your own. So talk to me about that too, because a lot of them are really experiential.
Right. And one thing on every Trafalgar tour, exclusive to Trafalgar, they have something called Be My Guest, which actually you get to go into a family's home. It's an immersive meal. They bring you in, they do a kind of a show, give you some more knowledge of what their life is like in that area. And this is something that's very important, very, very fun to do. But it's also, like I said, exclusive to Trafalgar tours. Be My Guest is one of our favorite things, and one of our favorite things to sell as well.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Hey, Ashley, first of all, can I travel with you next time you take a trip? Because really, you could just adopt me, please, please. So, but all kidding aside, when I was preparing for this discussion with you, I also sort of looked back at my younger days in traveling with my parents, and my father specifically took me to Italy, like right out of high school for college. And I will say that what you're doing for your family and your kids, it will last forever. Like I was just thinking about that experience with my dad in Italy for the very first time, and it still takes my breath away, and it changed my way of thinking. Like my worldview changed at 17, 18 years old doing that. So what you're doing, and what many of our members and what many of our listeners do, is so important for your kids. And man, does it give them perspective. I think it's incredible. Like I said, please call me next time you do it. All right. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of your kids. This is really important, and I want to spend some time on this. So, traveling internationally with kids.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare for that? What are the things that you need to check off a list before you go? What do our listeners need to consider when they too are planning for an international trip? I mean, you're the expert now on this.
Yeah.
Like, we're literally listening to every one of your words here because what you're about to say is super important. So talk to me about what you did and how you pulled it off so successfully.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something I'll reiterate that it's really important to have a travel agent because they can also help fine tune this stuff with you. For my family specifically, it's, your kids, what's in your back pocket to keep them sane. We know that travel, even not with kids, but as a family, there adds more, logistics that things can happen, and making sure that you're prepared well with what they need. So, I mean, it sounds terrible. We like devices. So making sure we have games downloaded for the long haul flights. Sure. Toys, heads up is a huge thing that my kids love to play on the planes. So that keeps them entertained. And just making sure you really have what your personal family needs to get through those long flights. Traveling, things happen. Flights are delayed. We had a delay on our flight. Just making the best of it. Expect the unexpected. Don't go in it thinking that everything is going to go according to plan. You can be a type A, have everything written out. It's not going to go that way. So just having that backup plan to fall on, okay, if something happens, we have these ways. Guys, we're going to have this conversation. Obviously, it's not going to work so well with the really littles, but just having those little things in your back pocket to keep them entertained and keep them busy in those events, because it will happen. It's not an if, it's a when it comes to travel. So just making sure that your kid, you've got their favorite stuffy, anything along those lines, I think are all really important, and just having something to keep them occupied.
Dreaming of Italy? From the canals of Venice to the vineyards of Tuscany and the history of Rome, AAA travel agents help you plan a seamless Italian getaway with personalized itineraries and expert insight. Whether you want guided experiences or independent exploration, AAA makes it easy to travel with confidence. Visit AAA.com/travel to start planning your Italian adventure today. I understand that you also added a Disneyland component to all this.
Oh my gosh. So we knew our itinerary, and the way it kind of worked out, we decided to go first, made it a little bit longer. So we flew into Paris and did Disneyland Paris there. Which was wonderful. We did 3 days, stayed at Disneyland Paris Hotel, so got to experience. We're a big Disney family, so that's kind of maybe reassuring to us. Sure. But I think even if you're just going to Italy specifically, but there's somewhere else that you want a bucket list item, fly in a couple days early. Those inner flights from Paris to Rome were not only cheap, they were quick, and we still got to knock off that big bucket list item of Disneyland Paris on top of this trip. You're not over there every day. So make the most of what you can do in that time. And having that experience, I am so thankful we did that. I knew we were going to be stressed out with it, but we just had the best time. And again, those inner Europe flights were so easy. And it made the trip that much better.
That's great. And, that's a clever way of adding an additional experience for your family, right? So you have the historic cultural aspect of this, but then you threw some fun with the Disney brand. I think that's really cool. Here's another thing too, because you talk about the inter-European air, but the train service in Europe is superb. And I have heard back from many families that say that too is a great alternative if you're adding anything pre or post to it, all these experiences too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Agreed.
That's great. All right. So anything else you want to touch on as far as the mindset that parents need to be in when they are preparing for an international trip? What are your if you're going to lead in with a couple of this is what I would focus on, what would you say that would be?
I have to say it's going to feel overwhelming when you're doing this. You've got this idea, you bring it hopefully to a AAA travel agent, kind of lay out what you're looking for. It's overwhelming, but as you work through it and as you start to get those plans nailed down, okay, we've got the dates, we've got the book, we've got the deposit down, it starts to fall together. It starts to come together, and it isn't, once you're actually there, it's not as overwhelming as you made it out to be in your mind. Break it down. And if you get stressed out, take a breather, go back to it in a little bit, and just have those things in your back pocket that works best for your family specifically.
Incredible. We could listen. I wish we had 2 more hours because I have 1,000 other questions to ask you.
Right.
But our time is coming to a close. So First of all, I want to thank you for joining us. This podcast host, you make me very proud. You are an esteemed colleague, and the information and the knowledge and the background that you've just shared, I think really speaks volumes to what all of our colleagues do. You know, you're one of many experts that have this knowledge, and that's why our members and our listeners come to us, because the expertise is phenomenal and you lived it. Who better to put a family vacation together than a person who just did it to such a fabulous destination? So thank you for your insight. Ashley, it's my favorite time because I get to ask this question to all of our guests, and that is, what does well-traveled mean to you?
I think well-traveled just really means that you've gone out there, you've experienced a lot of the world, you've experienced the emotions that you're not going to get at home. I think just seeing how different people lived is such an important thing.
That's wonderful. Thank you again. Thank you again for joining us. And let me say this, if Italy or anywhere else on your travel list is calling your name, remember, you don't have to plan it alone. Our AAA travel agents, just like Ashley, are here to help you travel smarter, maximize your time, and make every detail count. Until next time, I'm Julio Soto, wishing you safe travels and well-traveled adventures.